Understanding MiniCPRF, Vulnerabilities in Mini Programs Research Presentation by Fatima Mahmood, SMU Lyle, School of Engineering, Spring 25. Uncovering MiniCPRF, Securing Mini Programs Within Super Apps. The rapid rise of mini programs, lightweight applications integrated inside super apps like WeChat, Alipay, Baidu, and TikTok, has introduced a new landscape of security challenges. These mini programs operate similarly to web apps with complex routing mechanisms, exposing them to vulnerabilities akin to web-based attacks. Discovery of MiniCPRF vulnerability. Defining MiniCPRF. MiniCPRF, cross-page request forgery in mini programs, is a novel vulnerability distinct from traditional CSRF, exploiting weakly validated or modifiable page routing URLs within mini programs. Implications. His attack enables unauthorized operations like unlocking devices, modifying payments, leaking sensitive user data, and spreading malicious mini-program cards widely. Origin rooted in design flaws around routing, storage, and user state validation in popular super apps, making the threat particularly pervasive and under-recognized. Introducing MiniCAT. The detection framework crawling mini programs simulates user behavior on WeChat's Windows client to systematically explore mini program features and navigate pages. Static source code analysis utilizes reverse taint analysis and AST inspection to detect data flow paths and check for misuse of routing parameters and lack of validation. Attack path reconstruction reassembles potential exploit routes, verifying the presence of MiniCPRF conditions, including shareability and missing state checks. MiniCAT's large-scale empirical study scope analyzed 41,726 WeChat mini programs, an unprecedented scale for vulnerability detection in this domain, found that 32%, 13,349, were potentially vulnerable to MiniCPRF attacks. Validation manual auditing of a representative subset resulted in a 79% true positive confirmation rate, underscoring the severity of actual exposures. Confirms that the vulnerability is not just theoretical, but practical and exploit-worthy. Cross-platform vulnerability, landscape, ecosystem, wide risk, MiniCPRF vulnerabilities were discovered beyond WeChat, in Baidu, Alipay, TikTok, and WeCom mini programs. Implications for developers. Developers must understand the systemic flaws in routing and user state validation that enable these attacks. Mitigation recommendations. Encrypted parameter. Enforcement platforms should mandate encrypted routing parameters to prevent unauthorized URL manipulation. User state management. Introduce robust validation frameworks ensuring user session integrity and page access, control, fidelity. Shareability constraints. Restrict editing and distribution of mini program cards that use routing URLs prone to abuse. Author's position. Severity and underestimation of MiniCPRF. Strong positioning. The authors emphasize MiniCPRF as a critical yet overlooked security threat in mini program ecosystems. Evidence-based claims supported by automated detection tools, empirical data, and high-impact real-world examples. Cross-platform implications. Highlight systemic risks affecting multiple super app platforms. Evaluation of technical rigor and real-world impact. Automated detection. MiniCAT's static analysis enables reproducible vulnerability scans at scale. Real-world verification. Confirmed exploitable flaws in notable apps like Sohu and Wenjuangxing validate real-world risk. Research context and a problem statement. With the proliferation of mini programs, lightweight applications embedded within super apps like WeChat, Alipay, Baidu, and TikTok, security and privacy risks have become a growing concern. These apps mimic web applications in architecture, particularly in their routing mechanisms, making them susceptible to web-based attack paradigms. The authors of this paper introduce a novel vulnerability class termed MiniCPRF, cross-page request forgery in mini programs. Unlike traditional CSRF, cross-site request forgery, or previously known CMRF, cross-mini-app request forgery, MiniCPRF is an intra-program vulnerability that exploits weakly validated or modifiable page routing URLs, enabling attackers to perform unauthorized operations, e.g., unlock smart locks, alter payment prices, leak sensitive data, e.g., user IDs, payment details, distribute malicious mini-program cards broadly due to insecure sharing mechanisms. The authors argue this attack vector is both widespread and understudied, particularly given its origin and design flaws in routing, storage, and user state validation in WeChat and other super apps. Key contributions and methodology. Discovery of MiniCPRF. The paper identifies and defines MiniCPRF as a distinct class of security vulnerability affecting mini programs that misuse page routing without proper user state validation or integrity checks. To detect these vulnerabilities at scale, the authors build MiniCAT, a static analysis framework that crawls mini programs using simulated user behavior on the WeChat Windows client, unpacks and analyzes their source code using reverse taint analysis and AST inspection, reconstructs attack paths, and checks for conditions necessary for MiniCPRF exploits, routing misuse, missing state checks, shareability. Mitigation recommendations. The paper calls for platform-level enforcement of encrypted parameters, better user state management frameworks, restrictions on sharing, editing of mini-program cards. Technical rigor. They introduce an automated and reproducible tool, MiniCAT, and open-source their work. Real-world relevance. Verified vulnerabilities in major apps like Sohu and Wenjuangxing show that these are not theoretical flaws. Cross-vendor impact. Demonstrates that vulnerabilities are not confined to WeChat, but exist across platforms, thus making it a systemic risk. Empirical strength. The scale, 41K plus programs analyzed, and results, 13K plus vulnerable programs, lend statistical weight to their argument. Large-scale evaluation analyzed 41,026 WeChat mini programs and found 32%, 13,849, to be potentially vulnerable. Discovered that even high-profile mini programs, e.g., Sohu, Wenjuangxing, are affected. Manual verification on a sample showed a 79% vulnerability confirmation rate, reinforcing the severity of the issue. Cross-platform impact demonstrated that similar vulnerabilities exist in mini programs across other platforms, Alipay, Baidu, TikTok, indicating ecosystem-wide risks. Mitigation recommendations. Developers should avoid exposing sensitive data via routing URLs, enforce proper user state validation, and use encryption integrity checks. Platform vendors should strengthen default security frameworks and limit the manipulability of shared mini-program content. MiniCAT, MiniCPRF analysis tool, is composed of two main modules. 1. Mini-program crawler. Purpose: automatically collects WeChat mini-programs for analysis. Key features: simulates user interaction with the WeChat Windows client. Uses NLP, GBA, to build search dictionaries. Extracts and unpacks mini-programs using WXAP Unpacker. Collects metadata, app ID, category, etc. via WeChat APIs. 2. MiniCPRF detector purpose: performs static code analysis to detect MiniCPRF vulnerabilities. Technical approach: AST construction, builds abstract syntax trees from JavaScript, logic layer, and WXML, render layer. Reverse taint analysis, locates sync nodes, e.g. WX navigate to, and traces back to the source, event handling functions. Cross-layer mapping, identifies event triggers, e.g. buttons in WXML, linked to vulnerable routing. Checks for attack conditions. User state verification via WX check session or WX get storage calls. Page shareability via onshare app message. Parameter modifiability by analyzing routing URL structures. Implementation. Tools written in Python 2374 LOC and QL for CodeQL 900 LOC. Uses CodeQL for data flow and taint analysis, transforms WXML to HTML to enable standard parsing tools. Understanding MiniCPRF vulnerabilities in mini programs. Mini programs embedded in super apps like WeChat and TikTok face growing security risks due to their web-like routing mechanisms. This presentation explores a novel vulnerability called MiniCPRF, cross-page request forgery, which exploits weakly validated page routing URLs within a single mini-program. Attackers can perform unauthorized actions, leak sensitive data, and spread malicious content by exploiting these flaws. This issue stems from design weaknesses in routing, storage, and user state validation across popular platforms. Discovery and detection of MiniCPRF. A new intra-program attack exploiting insecure page routing without proper user state validation or integrity checks. MiniCAT framework. An automated static analysis tool that crawls WeChat mini programs, unpacks code, and detects vulnerabilities using reverse taint analysis and AST inspection. Empirical findings. Analysis of 41,726 mini-programs revealed 32% potentially vulnerable, with a 79% confirmation rate on manual checks. Cross-platform impact and mitigation, widespread vulnerability, MiniCPRF affects multiple platforms beyond WeChat, including Baidu, Alipay, TikTok, and WeCom, indicating ecosystem-wide risks. Mitigation strategies. Recommendations include enforcing encrypted routing parameters, stronger user state management, and restricting editable mini-program card sharing. Developer and platform roles. Developers should avoid exposing sensitive data in URLs and validate user sessions. Platforms must enhance security frameworks and sharing controls. Strengths of the research. Novelty introduces a previously unrecognized vulnerability class, distinct from CSRF and CMRF. Scalability. MiniCAT performs automated large-scale analysis with high precision. Clarity. Clear distinctions between vulnerability types supported by technical examples and comparative tables. Responsible disclosure. Ethical reporting of vulnerabilities to vendors ensures practical impact. Weaknesses and limitations. Static analysis challenges. MiniCAT struggles with heavily obfuscated or dynamically generated code, causing false negatives. Verification constraints. Full vulnerability. Confirmation is limited by inability to analyze server-side behavior. Platform dependency. MiniCAT is initially tailored to WeChat's architecture and may require adaptation for other platforms. Motivation. The motivation for this research stems from the rapidly expanding mini-program ecosystem, particularly within super apps like WeChat, Alipay, Baidu, and TikTok. These lightweight applications have revolutionized mobile convenience, but their underlying architecture has also introduced new security challenges. Despite existing research on vulnerabilities like CSRF, cross-site request forgery, and CMRF, cross-mini-app request forgery, no prior work has thoroughly investigated intra-program risks, particularly those arising from insecure routing mechanisms. Final evaluation, author's position and evaluation. Technical rigor. Introduction of MiniCAT, an automated detection tool with open-source release for reproducibility. Real-world relevance. Confirmed vulnerabilities in major apps demonstrate practical impact beyond theory. Cross-vendor impact findings show systemic risks across multiple mini-program ecosystems. Empirical strength, large-scale analysis with statistically significant results supports the severity of MiniCPRF.